Hi, Julie.
Hi, Karen.
Well, welcome to our listeners. I'm Karen Salisbury,
And I'm Julie Summers.
and we are still here, still talking. We are a heartfelt podcast where two lifelong friends share the wisdom and hard earned insights that come from decades of life experience. And today, we're going to talk about how you matter more than you know.
You matters. You do. You matter more, Karen, you, me, everyone. We all matter more than we think. Um, and that's what we want to share today.
Right. That everyone experiences trouble, and we all go through loss, grief, illness, hardship, loneliness, the caregiving, the fatigue of that, and the worry of that. We go through divorce. Hopefully, most of us don't, but many do. And aging, and all of that can feel very overwhelming. We've all experienced it, or if not yet, we will.
And today, I just want to talk about sadly, 12 years ago on June 29th, my sister took her life. And I just want to share that there's a lot of things I want to share, but she was such a wonderful person, an amazing person, and did wonderful things for her family and the community and her friends.
Yes, yes. And I'm sorry to hear about that. I know when that happened, it was very devastating. And all of us at some point in time, if not already, will experience that kind of a loss of a family member or a friend. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
And it was the first of many losses within a 2-year period for me. I I was just shocked. I just had no idea. We were 2 years apart growing up. I'll do a little background here. 2 years ago, we were 2 years apart. We always shared the same bedroom. She was my younger sister, but we always were so different. On one hand, was very shy, and she was not. I liked being in groups of people. She didn't need groups of people. We were just so different. And when I heard of her passing, her son had called me on the phone. It was horrendous. And of course, you do a lot of reflecting. And she was such a pillar to her friends and family, her community. She was always a pillar. I had no idea.
Yeah, she was definitely a powerhouse. She did contribute to the community a lot, and her friends relied on her. And there were many thoughts and expressions after her passing of that she was such a pillar that people looked up to her. People came to her for wisdom. So she was very important. She was, as I said, she did matter. She did matter more than she knew.
She always had such a good heart. She loved animals. She absolutely loved, you never saw a picture without her, either her kids or her
Yeah,
grandkids or her animals.
especially the horses.
Oh, she just loved the horses. And
Hmm.
at the end of her life, she was a hospice care worker in Marion County in Florida, and they called her the Dream Maker. She just
Oh,
loved helping others. She'd have a trunk full of items for the families and the patients, and they even dedicated. They called it Tammy's Closet, and they dedicated that in her name. Um, she was so well and so loved.
oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know she had that little moniker, the Dream Maker. That's very sweet. Well, I'd like to let our listeners know that yes, more than 49,000 Americans died by suicide in 2023, but very fortunate, the statistics are now showing that as of like late 2025 and going into 2026 here, that that number is lowering, which is a really good thing. And so I hope that it is that downward trend will continue, and that people will recognize that there is some help out here for them if they're feeling like they're completely overwhelmed. And I'm sure that our listeners, as I know I have, and I know that you have too, Julie, that we have at different times felt overwhelmed, that we've had difficult seasons that we had to work through, and that hopefully that we learn from our experiences and can push through and rely on our friends, calling each other, recognizing that there is support out here for us.
There's support, and it's a tough subject to talk about. I'm trying to I just want to say, she was just so loved, and I think of her that way. I think of the love and what she had to give. She always tried doing her best. She was hard on herself, I think. I don't know. I'm thinking she must have been. I can think and try and figure it out, but the truth is, it took all of us, her family and friend. It took us by surprise, and it's been hard. Um, it's hard. It's hard missing her, but I
Mm,
do know that her spirit lives on through
yeah,
other people and places.
yeah, especially through your children, definitely. So what you mentioned there is very important, like you said about how the family didn't notice, and that is true for many individuals not seeing the signs. And I know that I've had suicide in my life, in my family, friends that exhibited no signs whatsoever. And then when it happened, we were completely thrown off. We had no concept whatsoever that this was even possible. And some individuals would like to say, they actually some said to me, well, you should have seen the signs, you just ignored them. And it's like, no, I didn't see any signs. But there are some signs that are out there that people can become aware of. When you start seeing individuals that withdraw from their friends or activities, or they start talking verbally, saying to you, communicating to you, they feel like they are a burden, or maybe something in their life is a burden. You start seeing them give away things, their possessions. I know, Julie, you mentioned about how your sister Tammy was attempting to give away her horse, right?
Yes, she was giving away her horse that day, and we thought it was odd behavior, and she couldn't. It's just this whole story around it, but she was giving away her horse, which was Karen was saying, like, that could be a sign, but who would have known?
Right. It wasn't something that you were aware of that this was a sign of potentially her,
Right.
going to take her life. Um, but there are other signs too that individuals might see, and hopefully by listing these items that our listeners can become a little more aware that these might potentially be the signs, such as increased substance use or a dramatic mood change or expressions such as everyone is better off without me. And I know that I can say that I had a friend of mine that did that particular item. She expressed that expressed to me over a phone call that everyone would be better off without me. And that was in a call that she gave like at 11 o'clock at night. And she was telling me that very thing, people would be better off. But she was saying goodbye. She goes, Karen, I want to say goodbye to you. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she told me that she was headed for the Skyway Bridge in Florida, which is one of the tallest bridges. It's like 435 feet high, something like that, and that she was going to jump off the bridge, which is a common thing that a lot of individuals do in that area. Unfortunately, they'll scale the high fence and jump off the bridge, and most don't survive it. Um, so when she did that at 11 o'clock at night, and I recognized what was happening, I just said to her, I was like, girl, you're tired. You need to just come over to my house and sleep. And she was like, no, no, no. And I said, I've unlocked the door. The door is unlocked. And we're in the middle of a big city, Largo, Florida. And I said, don't let me go back to sleep with my door unlocked. I said, I'm already in bed now, so you better come over. The door's unlocked. And then she was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And I said, well, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm in bed. Come over, come in the house, lock the door behind you, and go into the spare room and go to sleep. And I said, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to bed. Don't let me sleep. Don't let me sleep with the
Mhm.
door unlocked. So sure
Mhm.
enough, it was very good that I did hear her about 20 minutes later open the door, come in, and go into the spare room and sleep. And she stayed there for like the next couple of days. I didn't bother her. I just, my own awareness, I made sure that she was there, that she was breathing, that she was moving around. But we didn't see each other. I just let her be. And then when she was ready, many days later, we talked about it a little bit. And yeah, she was pretty serious about it. But she recognized after she got some sleep that there were other possibilities for her. So that was about 10 years ago or 14 years ago, between 10 and 14 years ago. I can't remember the exact date, but
Mhm.
she is still around to this day. She
Amen.
survived that deep, dark space, period of her time. And so that was a really good thing. But she did give me that sign. She did call to express to me that she would have been better, that other people would have been better off without her and to say goodbye. So sometimes those little signs are little reaches for help me, even though they're not saying the words help me, they're expressing that. So
When
hopefully
my
people will recognize it, right? Recognize some of those signs and respond to
Yeah,
it.
recognize it. I had no idea. I wasn't familiar with suicide. I hadn't known anybody that close to me, or a family member, so I really had no experience. What I For myself, so after I got that call and, you know, horrible, horrible, horrible in bed weeks. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
And I kept
it's a great
reflecting
loss.
on it, just kept reflecting and I was the one in the family. I'm the one who always tended to have the depression and the drinking, the alcoholism that I shared in my other podcast. I mean, I had other family members too, but like I always had her on a pedestal. I mean, she always moved forward, highly educated, highly, social, big jobs. And I would always compare myself to her. So I was shocked.
Yeah,
Took me off guard. Well, as
yeah,
suicide does.
right. And some of those individuals that are in depression, at least from my experience, I've seen them that they're high functioning in depression. They mask it very well. That you don't know that they're actually going through depression or even having suicidal thoughts. And it's and statistically, I'd like to point out that women report suicidal thoughts and their attempts more than men, and men more than women commit suicide. And they don't talk about it as much. I mean, I had a neighbor, our family had a neighbor that we treated him like he was part of the family. I thought of him as like a cousin. And he never, at any point in time, ever said anything about attempts or even had suicidal thoughts or that he was depressed. He never said a word. We never suspected it for years. And then one day, my father gets a letter in the mail that basically said, if you are reading this, this is where you're going to find my body. And that's, yes, my father did find his body there. And we were all shocked. We were all shocked by him taking his own life. It just didn't make sense. And it left the rest of us in that state of confusion for a long time, wondering what could we have done differently? What signs did we miss? And sometimes these high functioning individuals, there are no signs. There's absolutely nothing there to tell you what is going on.
So true. And no stigma, like I shared in we talked about in our last podcast, like when it comes to mental health, addictions, like there's no stigma. I and I, everybody goes through their grief, there's different stages of grief, right?
Yeah.
And you go back and forth, first you can't, you're shocked. And then I think Karen, you know the 7 steps to the grief, don't you?
Oh,
Um,
I know I've read about them and I know about them, but I
yeah.
couldn't. I know there's
So,
anger,
yeah,
disbelief, denial, anger. Yeah.
exactly. So at first you're in shock. And then I was mad. I was mad at her.
Hmm.
And then it
Hmm.
was like, no, I mean, she loved everyone. She loved her family and friends. And there was no, she didn't want to hurt them. This wasn't about them.
That's
This was
right.
about something going on in her. This was about
Yes.
something internally that was going on with her that had nothing to do with anyone else. She did not want to hurt anybody else. She
That
absolutely
is
didn't.
true. That is true. And that's a good point to make, Julie, is that when an individual, a friend or a family, somebody that you know, and even those that you don't know, if they've committed suicide, if they've taken their life, it has nothing to do with hurting anybody else. It has to do solely with them. That they at some point in time felt like this was the only option they had. This was the only choice that they were going to make. And
Yes.
so yeah, it's a real tough one for us to the ones that are out here, the survivors of it, we're the ones out here thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have said? Could there have been one more phone call, one more text? Should I, and could I have made that coffee date? Could I have changed their entire day? Maybe I could have changed their entire life. I will tell the story about, yeah, that I um, that we made a change. Julie and I went to New Hampshire on a skiing trip with a bunch of other girls. And I don't remember where all these girls came from, but there was probably about 9 or 12 of us, right? And we went skiing for the weekend up there. And then Julie and I were upstairs. We were already in bed getting ready for, an early morning to get out on the slopes. And all of a sudden there was all this commotion. And one of the girls came running up the stairs, saying, she's gonna do it, she's gonna do it. And Julie and I were like, what?
Oh,
We
yeah.
jump out of bed, we go downstairs, and all the girls are like, just heard it like a pile into the bathroom. And I'm like, what is going on? So I go in there, and I'm this kind of person that's like a take charge. I don't sit
Yes.
around
You're
waiting.
so good at that.
First responder type attitude. So I
Yes.
walk in and I
Absolutely.
make the assessment first of like what's happening, because that's what you do. And then I asked every one of the girls to step out of the bathroom, and I was very gentle about guiding them out. And then I'm left with the girl that is attempting to commit suicide. And I locked the door to keep the other girls out. And then I went over and I went to the girl. Now I do not know her. I I just met her that day, right? We had just come in,
Just
and
that
I
day.
just sat down. What was that, Julie?
Just that day. We didn't know most
Yeah,
of the girls, actually.
yeah, we didn't. And I sat down beside her, and I just looked at her, and she's telling me what she's going to do, and I just said, "Why?" And she just looked at me like as if no one had ever asked her before
Mhm.
why. And she started crying and she told me her situation. And so we talked, and um, she finally recognized that she had an alternative, that she had a choice, that she could do something different. And I didn't
Mhm.
tell her she had that choice. I wasn't lecturing her, I was just helping to guide her into a better decision. And I'm just was very, very happy that she chose that night not to do anything. And the next morning, um, well, it was almost morning anyways, but the next, so when the day came, she continued to be to go on. And I hope to this day that she is still around. I
Mhm.
hope that she went on to um, have a lovely marriage and have children, because it did stem around, the situation was around a miscarriage. So, yeah. So sometimes just that one more conversation that
Yeah, one
just
more
say,
comment.
ask like, why? Or what can I do for you? Not be there to try to correct the problem, that just ask questions. But more importantly, just be there.
Just listen.
Right.
I'm so grateful that I did have a few years before that I was able to see my sister and a couple of my kids that met her for the first time. Well, they saw them when they're children, but they were older now, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm. It's just a tough subject, but I want to just share the love that I had for my sister and that she did matter. Um, Maybe
Yes.
she didn't feel like she mattered, but she mattered.
We all matter. And that's so important of a message to get out there is that to our listeners, if you are considering the choice to end your life, um, please listen to, what others are telling you and what we say. And that is, you do matter. You do make a difference in everybody's life.
I just want to add a suicide prevention lifetime phone number is 1-800-273-TALK. Again, it's 1-800-273-TALK. You can call at any time, no questions asked. Somebody will always be on the other side of the phone. Also, I want to add too that to our listeners, your story matters, your voice matters. Reach out anytime. Our email address is still here, still talking at yahoo.com.
Yes. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We appreciate you. We're still here, still talking. We're not experts, we're just experienced.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope this has helped. And again, we're glad you're listening. Thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye now.